So I wrote, that's the title of my, what I wanted to do, 33 vertebrae. 33 statements I did about visual poetry, about oral poetry, about experiments in literature, about literature. Also because I wrote those 33 pieces, I thought that's good testing to just put them on my Facebook page. So all my text is on my Facebook page, my author page. And it was interesting to see if there would be reactions and what would be the reactions. I also had a prologue to my text, and it was that I just put also on Facebook the questions: how many poems or poetical texts do you have in your home, and how often do visitors to your home take time to read them? I had 3 pages of reactions on several Facebook pages that I put it. I will not read them all. I saw 2 very things that struck me. First thing is that almost all the reactions have to do with posters. Okay, as to what you hang there, but you feel that it's really about a classical poem, maybe with a drawing or something next to it from, let's say, Luc Tuymans. It's not because you mentioned it, but it's an example. But it's about classical poetry hanging out somewhere, and it's not. It struck me that there was, in fact, nothing creative about it. And then I think about my own. What I have at home is that I have written myself in chalk on the wall a piece of a poetry of Hans Groenewegen. That says something about arriving at home, and I thought it was. It's also about love. That's what works also. And the second thing that is good advice is that if you have poetry, you want to hang it in your house, hang it in the toilet. That's where people read it. So that's about the prologue. So I wrote 33 vertebrae, and yesterday I was sitting on my desk again. I was thinking, how will I order them for today? What would be the best order to put them? And the answer I had for that is this. So I now take my text. Here we are again. Just one thing I want to mention before I start is that when looking on Wikipedia, I saw that I read that you have the 2 lowest points, the sacrum, I don't know, heiligbeentje and staartbeentje, I know how we say it in English. These are in fact a melting together of 5 and 4 vertebrae, and also some statements I kept together, 2 or 3, because they hang together in the text. So sometimes I will read more of them together. Number 25. No likes. All rhetoric is a mechanism of a delay, of slowing down things. Because you remember a sentence, a poem, or a piece of a poem, or even more, because it puts you into a position that you have to take a position to react to it, to a sentence, or you have to think about a fragment of reality. It comes into the linearity of daily life, and you go into the little mystique of eternal life. Yeah, I find it interesting of myself to talk about eternal life because I don't believe in it, but still it's something I think about, text that it makes you forget time, simply put. 14, 4 likes. Someone who is reading his poems better than average and then does it by heart does not mean yet that he is a performer. Delivering a performance is looking out to how you can make something happen in all the interactivity with the public, with surroundings, with temporality. And also the unpredictable is part of the performance. So I just had my 5 seconds of performance. Number 5, 1 like. The after-war experimental literature in general and the visual poetry in special was going up with the growing European thought after the war and also give meaning to it. Number 7, no likes. It's one that I would have given a like myself. Yeah. Poetry is already since the beginning open for migration, for migrants, because poets steal constantly from other countries, from other poets and from other countries. And for instance, Virgilius put his Roman language into the Greek hexameter, and also the sonnets is a very good example of an Italian form that in all other countries has found his place. And people have tried to write it, although it wasn't meant for the Dutch language, for instance. Number 4, no likes but 2 comments. The poetry has, as a promoter of the individual, also helped opening the path for the neoliberal world we live in today. And then somebody says, Dominique Stoffelen, don't you overreact the impact of poetry here? And the second comment is a reaction of myself when I say the nuance is in the word together in helping. In Dutch is the word mee, because also you also need little things in a big clockwork. So yes, if you put out that word, it's overreacted, of course. 19, 1 like. The longing for freedom is no more a question in contemporary poetry. And then between brackets, I give a little comment on that already, that the longing for freedom is merely a disguise for a longing for individualism today. And then I say the poetry of today has to be concerned with what in the 20th century has been put on the background. That's a literal translation. Put on the background. What has been lost in 20th century is the connection between people, how we are together. I think it's more saying what I would like of poetry that it does than what it actually does. 15, 16 and 17 are together. Speaking of subgenres as visual and oral poetry and all the words that has been talked about, there's a whole lot of words that have been there, has reached his limits, I think. And I think it's more fruitful to look at a concrete work as a unity of language and see what of the language it puts in front. Does it put the sound in front? Does it put the word, the sentence, the alinea, the paragraph in front? Or what is at stake? What is it playing with? And from there on you can go on to categorize things. And this is one I was thinking a lot about when talking about categories also by Luc. I think maybe it's just a bit too easy, but go. And the next two ones, I see them as examples of it. Verse 16 says, even a visual poem, you can take it as a partiture for an oral poem, and it would be a complement to that poem. The only difference is that with a visual poem, if you let several people take it as a partiture, the differences will be bigger than with a classical poem. And then 17, it has 4 lines, says, the partiture of an oral poem often is a visual poem. I think what I was thinking about when I wrote this is also that it would be interesting to see if poems that are, for instance, working on sound, to see that you don't make any, not anymore the division between visual poems and oral poems, but that they have also things in common with them. And that works on another level. It's not about medium, about look at medium in which you work, but also look at what is the research you are working on. Is it about, are you experimenting with sound, or are you experimenting with sentences, and how sentences can, are talking or not talking to each other? That's what interests me.